just see if we can go ahead and. All right, welcome to the call tonight. Glad you're on. This is going to be a very productive call, and so I'm thankful you're here. If you are YouTube, you're on live, you can't really interact. You can ask questions in the chat, and then I can answer your questions in that way. We're not going to get into Q&A yet. I'm going to handle some paperwork, if you will, some emails that we've gotten, and some are general and broad, and I'll talk about that. But if you're on YouTube and you haven't liked or subscribed, we'd like to be able to have you be a part of this community and to catch whenever we upload videos and do things like that. So glad you're on. I suppose that helps us in some capacity. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So on the GoToMeeting, and if you're live and if we're live and you want to come on the GoToMeeting, you can just go to the DestinationFreedom.org website. The first page will be links to come on live so that you can ask questions and things like that. And of course, we have a chat here as well on the GoToMeeting, and you can ask questions that way as well. I just request, at least online, that you don't side talk, because I have to read what you're writing and then it'll be distracting. And so I just ask you to hold off on that at this time. Oh, that's great. Thanks, George. Appreciate you giving me that feedback. So right now, I just want to get into some emails, general emails that we get in our contact us part of the website. I think in the future, and by the way, for those of you who've been on the website, it may not seem very navigatable, and so I apologize for that. The website really is designed by me in a sense. I had a guy who's my tech guy, and so he made it. It's all very practical for me, just so that I can have the data out there and things like that. But I seem to have to explain to people where everything is and all that stuff. It probably would help that I would produce a video and then just upload that. I do have some videos right on the website that talk about some of this stuff here. So, you can take a look at that. But we're going to be making the website more elegant, very sexy and all that stuff, so that things flow depending on what people want to do. So that's coming, and it's been long in coming. And I'm thankful for your patience, and we are getting into past emails and past communications that we've gotten from people over the last really couple years, because we've just been so busy and trying to stay ahead of the curve and all that stuff, and that's still playing out. And we have some excellent help from our new assistant, Amma, and she's going to be fielding your communications so that we can stay current and make sure that we get everybody's questions answered and we move everybody forward, so that they can start enjoying all of the fruit of their labor. So this particular call or video really just going to, and after I get through handling some of the emails that we've gotten, then we can get into some general Q&A, and I can answer your questions and things like that. So that'll be kind of fun. One major topic that comes up with our with our communication from people, and one is certainly the passport process. People are asking about that. They're asking about whether they want to do the passport workshop or do the full passport process. It's really simple. Is that if you aren't confident to do your own paperwork and such, you can have us do it, and it's more expensive because we're doing all your paperwork for your passport process. That and then we also do your alignment workshop, if you will, and we help you do your driver's license explanatory statement so that it's congruent with your passport process. If you're doing the passport workshop, then you also get the alignment workshops that are included in that, and then that gives you templates and things that you can use to do those processes. And And so that's available, and that's less expensive, of course. At any time, you can always reach out to us, and there are fees that you can pay for us to step up and step in and help you with your process. So we never leave anybody high and dry, and we want people to be able to complete the process and get their certified copies of their passport file. So that's always playing out, and so that's why we're here, and we want to be a part of that with you. One major category of email that we get is from people who are in the States, and they may be beyond their stay and stuff like that, and so they would like to become a United States citizen, if you will. I'll use that term loosely, or really they want to be a state citizen, and that's and so they want to do the naturalization process in the States, and of course we're interested in helping with that, and we have like a half a dozen clients that we're working with them on that, doing that naturalization process in the States. What we require from those people, those clients, is that they would sign up for the state citizenship class so they can understand who has an income tax liability and why. And then if they get into that group of people that we're working on the naturalization process, and just so you know, we have not completed that with anyone. We are working with a number of clients to complete that process. It is a court process, and it is in the States. It's not part of the federal government's immigration into the United States. Okay, these are people that are not interested in immigrating into the United States. They're interested in immigrating into a particular state. So that's playing out, and usually we in order for people to be into that aspect of clientele, there's a fee that they pay for that, just so they can be a part of that, and we can begin to determine who they are and what they are, what they're about, and give them that support. So naturalization is one of those areas that we're interested in helping people with, and sometimes those people are married to a citizen here in America, and what we require for those spouses is that they do this process and become state citizens, so that they're not in the federal zone, because it's almost impossible for someone to properly naturalize without their spouse. If their spouse is a federal citizen, then of course they're going to be subject to federal laws, both immigration and naturalization, and that's part of the federal zone. So that's an important aspect as well. The first thing that they can learn and do, and that is to take the state citizenship class, so they can determine and see who has that income tax liability. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, there's another category in which people have difficulty, and that is can you be a spouse without a marriage license? Oh yeah, I don't recognize licensing marriage as a thing. Okay, if you can be married without a license to marry, that's that's just a tradition and a habit. What you can't do is be licensed to marry one person and then licensed to marry another person and have multiple licenses. Doesn't work that way. There are crimes against that. So, but the idea is that marriage is a spiritual thing. It's a rite, R-I-T-E. It's a rite, R-I-G-H-T, and the government doesn't need to be a part of that. And of course, again, you can establish, and I recommend that if someone does get married, that they can record it, certainly, but they should have a certificate of holy matrimony. They should have witnesses, and they should have people sign off, including whoever's officiating their marriage. So all that you can do. We do that for not our clients, but I've being a minister of Christ, I've married people and things like that. That's all is part of that. It looks like we have a troll. How lovely. Anyway, but marriage is one of those things. So yeah, you can be married. The other area that is really common that people ask about, and that is Social Security. Now, if the many times the questions are if you um, if you have um, what was I going to say? About Social Security. Yeah. So if you're doing this process and you're eliminating your income tax liability, it doesn't make sense that somebody would want to do Social Security or have or be looking for Social Security. Um, if you're receiving benefits from the District of Columbia, then of course you're going to create a tax liability for you. The question many times is, if they're getting Social Security, will they lose it? Nothing in this process is reactionary where the IRS or Social Security stops something like that. This is not. This doesn't have any of that. There are people that receive Social Security that have done the process, but they must know that they're in federal jurisdiction and they have a tax liability, and that becomes problematic. So if you think the federal government owes you Social Security, you've never read the Social Security Act, the 1935 Social Security Act, I want you to be able to be responsible for yourself and your own living and be all in or all out, and don't be halfway. So that's an important thing for you to understand. So, will you lose it and all that stuff? None of that stuff is playing out, but it does create a tax liability. It'd be very easy for the IRS to say that you have a tax liability and that what you've done is frivolous because you're still signed into that, like as if you want that senior welfare. So, that's a major topic that people ask about all the time. Again, it doesn't cut it off, but why would you want to? It doesn't make sense to me that you would say, "Hey, I don't want to file and pay income taxes, but I do want the cookie that you're handing out, and I want you to take care of me, mama." Like that. Just crazy. But again, people, they have a belief system about Social Security like they deserve it. Look, they were paying in because they chose to pay in. They don't know that it's voluntary. You don't have to. Typically, when you're working for a corporation, they're going to do that withholding for you, and that's part of those systems that people join in, and they're part of that, and that's unfortunate. But anyway, that's a major thing that people ask about, is can they still get their senior welfare? And the last major topic is really common of being asked about, and that is child support. Okay, and so that plays out. And of course, if in order for us to help or assist with child support and stuff, a person has to become a client. Okay, now a client has a hold harmless agreement, and they're paying in for their passport process. The federal government, if they've received from a particular state that someone is behind in child support, then the federal government will not issue passport. It's one of those things very much like IRS. But the child support statutes that govern it are based in HUD, Housing and Human, whatever it is, housing and urban development, or whatever the thing is that is the federal thing. HUD is what that's tied into. And of course, if you're a federal citizen, then that's the way that they govern people with respect to child support and all that. The federal government is definitely involved in divorces and all that. They make money when percentages of money based upon the settlements that go on in divorce. So the federal government is definitely interested in divorce, and they're interested in being involved with the children in that regard. Many times the wife, doesn't have to be the wife, but many times the wife is on welfare, and so she receives welfare, and then the government, that would be the state and or federal government, will pursue taxation to the sire or the father or whatever you want to call them, and collect that child support as if it's taxation. And of course, there are presumptions and things like that, but that has to be resolved with HUD, so you pull out of that. Many times, these bureaucracies are so dogmatic and troublesome that many times it's easier to just pay off whatever it is and then move on. But many times, these things are compounding, and there's a lot of penalties and things like that, and it becomes overwhelming. And it doesn't even matter if there's a child anymore, because the child could have already grown up and they're still looking for that back child support because it's been turned into from child support to taxation, and it's funky. But it is based in being a federal citizen. And so that's part of the trouble, or what is problematic. So anyway, those are some of the major topics that are asked about in our process. Now, if that's true for you in any of those categories, the first thing that if we're going to assist is you have to become a client. So we recommend and require that people take the state citizenship class so they understand who has the a tax liability or not. And so that's the way it plays in, and because we're not going to be helping people who are federal citizens unless they do these processes, and we know that they've done these processes. There's no way for us to help. You'll have to resolve that on your own. The answer will not be with the State Department. The answer will be with that particular state and or the HUD with respect to child support, and you can find out what that's all about. Some of these other things I want to just so that was Social Security. Here's a question that came up here. Highlight this one. It says, I saw the interview with Jeff Berwick, and it says here, I live in Wisconsin, have questions about my situation regarding becoming a non-federal citizen. Blows my background. So that's a typical thing that people call themselves, a non-federal citizen. There's no such thing as a non-federal citizen, okay? You're either a federal citizen or you're not. It's not a non-federal citizen. A state citizen is a state citizen. A state citizen isn't a non-federal citizen. You have to be careful with the word non, as it's still in that category. Another thing that people think is that when doing the passport process, there is a U.S. citizen, and then there's a citizen and or national of the United States. The United States national is for those that are born in America Samoa or Swains Island. If you were not born in America Samoa or Swains Island, you will not have success in reaching out to the State Department, looking for them to have your status to being a non-citizen national. That also is a U.S. person. That also is in the federal zone. You're not really interested in that. This person says that they have 2 jobs in private companies. Okay. If it's a corporation, there's no such thing as a private corporation. All corporations are public. He says he has no ownership. He says, where I receive a W-2 form. Okay. That means he's an employee. If you're employed by any company or corporation, you will not do this. You will not eliminate your income tax liability. It's not going to happen. You need to be responsible for your own taxes, if any, and you need to be creating wealth on your own. You will not do these processes as an employee. So you ultimately will be unemployable. It means no employment, okay? Because the corporation is not going to stand with you on dealing with the IRS or going outside that. They're going to withhold on your behalf in both, whether it's state income tax or federal and or whatever the withholding, and they'll send to IRS. They're not going to jeopardize or risk an audit on your behalf. It's not likely. We don't recommend it. We're glad to help people move out of that situation and create your own business. Okay. There are people that want to do these processes, and they struggle financially. We are very interested in helping you create wealth that you can be able to live in the kind of freedom that you want. I'm just looking on a side note here. Someone says Larkin Rose in his book Kicking the Dragon talks about the IRS seizing and requesting a list of clients. There seems to be risk in signing hold harmless agreements that identify clients. Is there mitigation in this place? Larkin Rose did not deal with the IRS from a jurisdictional standpoint. And so, yes, if someone is a federal citizen and all that stuff, then that's an issue. If you don't have a tax liability, it's not likely you're going to deal with the IRS. I'm not dealing with the IRS personally, and we've not had the IRS deal with anything here. And of course, that's a known thing where IRS comes in and they do what they do with their federal citizens. And that's a violation of Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Fourth Amendments are violated because federal citizens are subject to the jurisdiction thereof. In our class, I'll explain all that. But um, the risk, if I don't have a hold harmless agreement, IRS uses people's testimony against people all the time. Okay. My hold harmless agreement says that you're not a federal citizen, you don't have a tax liability. And what's perfect here. But the purpose of the hold harmless agreement is so that I can have your testimony saying that you are responsible for yourself. Okay. And that you're responsible for this work as well. And that you're not a victim of me. You know that I'm not an attorney. I'm not I'm not helping people in that jurisdiction. I always teach in my classes that who has an income tax liability, all U.S. citizens, regardless of where they live, and resident aliens. This person says, you understand my point? It says, really, my question is whether they get client info if they kick down your door. Yeah, what else wouldn't they get if they kick down your door? Of course. I mean, what is that all about? It doesn't matter. Okay. What they can do is one thing. What they will do, it may be another thing. Okay. And of course, we've been at this for a number of years. We don't have trouble with the IRS. I agree with the IRS. Okay. All U.S. citizens, regardless of where they live and resident. So, I'm saying what the IRS says. So we're not going to have trouble with the IRS. That's not where people have trouble. People have trouble dealing with third parties. Okay. IRS never sneaks up on anybody and just knocks down their door and does things. That's never the way the IRS will never go after your money until they ask you first for it. It never happens. Okay. The IRS is very predictable. So it's not something that I'm worried about is if they're kicking down my door. Can it happen? Of course. It's not like they don't ever do that. But I'm not having trouble with the IRS. I don't have IRS asking me questions. And our clients, we make sure that they don't have bad paperwork out there. So we have no clients having trouble with the IRS. Okay. We have clients there are people that have IRS issues that come to us and we have to help and sort those things out. But nobody that we are dealing with that have done our stuff, no one is having IRS issues. So let me just want to catch some of these questions on here. Yeah, well, I'm glad of your privacy and all that stuff, and I'm glad to accommodate in whatever way I can, and I'd be glad to talk about that with you privately. So hopefully that is a blessing for you. I'd be glad to talk to you about what that is and what that means for you. I got a lot of questions on the YouTube that I want to answer before they get too far down the road here, and it says, let's see here. How do I have 1,000 subscribers and only 7 people watching? Because they didn't know I was going to come on live, and then again, I don't know how they have their notifications or whether they get noticed for that. But we got 12 on. I'm delighted that 12 people are watching, so that's great. Sorry to block the camera there. Let me see here. What do you want? Let's see. What if you want to marry a foreign national using the typical fiance visa stuff? All that stuff's in the federal zone. If you want you and your fiance to be in the District of Columbia, then fill out that paperwork. When you're looking at the statutes that govern, then that's going to be important. And again, if you're going to get a visa from the federal government, you're going to be coming into the federal zone, and they're going to be wanting you to be a federal, a U.S. citizen. You're going to be claiming that. If you're going to do all that stuff, then do it before you get started in this, so you can pull out of it. But again, if they're probably not going to move you forward and help your fiance come to America if they, if you're not going to be in that jurisdiction. So it's not. I don't see that. Ed got his passport book into. 4 stars on your card. That's great. We have clients that have 1 through 5 stars. Some families we know they have 3s and 4s in the same family. Kids, 4 kids, 3 of them have 3s, 1 of them has a 4. It means something that we don't know what it means yet. It does not mean 5 is the best, 1 is not. That is just, there's no evidence supporting that. Whatever that is, that's just patriot mythology. Let's see here. Can I use the rest of my GI Bill for college? And I'm a client. You have my permission. Yes, you can use your GI Bill. But when you set that up, you set it up as a federal citizen, I'm sure. And so whatever that is, if you're filling out stuff and you're let me see here. What does it say? Where's the one about the GI Bill? Oh. So yeah, but just remember, if you're filling out forms, you want to make sure that you're not filling them out as a federal citizen. You don't want to compromise the work you've already done. If you haven't started that, then that's okay too. This person says, and again, if Ed, if you're going to college, can I recommend anything else? So, what a waste of money. Use your GI Bill for something else, like getting a house or something, but not for college. I mean, take classes that you want to class, but what do you want, a degree in the funk? I don't know. Your client, you're waiting on the passport. That's good. Yeah, we'll be following up with you for you when that comes time. Let's see here. And so, tell the IRS I want all my money, my money they stole from me. It's just, well, the IRS never stole any of your money. You did all that to yourself. So they're victims of your false testimony. So, I don't recommend you go back over past stuff. We really want people to be, the government to leave people alone. If you're so pissed off and all, then take a stand, have them stop, stop filing and all that. But remember, they are empowered by your false testimony. And of course you didn't know. And there's a lot of things that you don't know. So anyway, that's just part of it. Someone says they were contacted by Amma. Amma is my assistant. Yes, she's holding down and doing an awesome job in the office. And so that I'm grateful for. And she's been the one that's been generating a lot of this activity, because she's connecting with past clients as well as people that had communications even back as far as a couple years into 2023 or even earlier. So all that stuff's being flushed up, and we definitely want to assist people. It's been very challenging. Someone says they have trade school program. People, try not to, the students, victims, of their false. 6 months. It says they do pay $2,200 in housing allowance, but again, listen, if your guys are going to communicate to each other, I have to read that. We're going to interrupt this thing here. So please govern yourself well and try not to side talk. Afterwards, you can do some messages back and forth in the YouTube channel, but not while we're on here. I just ask that you would govern yourself that way. So anyway, dealing with this guy, he's talking about LLCs. If you have a corporation that you're a part of or that you're involved with, we recommend that all clients will shut down all their corporations so that their business isn't in with government. And many of these corporations have tax ID numbers. All that stuff is in the federal zone. All that stuff is based on error, and we want to pull out of that and help you do that. And so that's available. One of the things we've made available for some clients that have companies and corporations and they need some assistance, we have a weekly call that they can be a part of, and it's less expensive than our hourly rate. But you can pay the hourly rate and then just use it as needed and not necessarily do every week, but it could be every other week or as needed. That sometimes will save you money too. But we have a program in which you can pay for less money and be a part of a group call, and which you can hear other people talking about their business stuff, and it's pretty much the same for everybody. Yes, I'd be glad to, Gary, talk about that just a second here. So anyway, so that's a typical thing is having people deal with their shutting down LLCs and things like that in those pathways. Someone was asking about debt discharge. We have a debt discharge workshop for clients. So once you've done the passport process, we can make that available to you. And that class is a workshop. It has templates and all, and that goes for $17.76 for that, being free of the bankers stuff. And let's see here. So anyway, someone is a former client, or no, say it's a present client. The husband wants to start collecting Social Security. So he did these processes as a state citizen, and now he's tired of creating his own wealth. He wants the federal government. He wants to go on welfare, and so he calls it Social Security, and he doesn't see why he should not. Well, I can't help him. He wants to create a tax liability for himself. I can't see why he would want to, but that's up to him. So we'll follow up, let him know. Do what you like at your own peril. If you want to create a tax liability, that's fine. I don't recommend it, but that's just part of that. Let's see here. So someone was talking about, here's the person says, they saw us on Jeff Berwick, Dollar Vigilante. He says, I have a son, had a passport as a child, and he's now 16. His passport expires in a couple years back. Again, that child is only for 5 years. Wanted to sign up for full passport service with you. Not sure my son, who need a passport as soon as possible, is eligible for your process since you say he needs to apply in person. Oh, we only serve adults. If there's a minor, we'll serve a minor under the parents' guidance or by their agreements and things like that. We don't even do hold harmless agreements with children. We only do that for adults. They are responsible for their own children and everything. Person says, it says applying person on the U.S. DS-11 passport. What they're talking about is the federal government will let 16-year-olds do the passport process where they sign off on their own. I'm not of the opinion that minors can sign contracts with corporations or governments or anything because they're not of the age of maturation. There are no contracts with children. Okay, parents can obligate their children on some level, but there are no valid contracts with children. It doesn't work that way. There has to be an adult involved. Passport worksheet time says he's issued a passport, blah, blah, blah. It says, are you able to help him get a passport? Sure. Need to get a current one. So anyway, yes, we do help parents, get their have their children do the passport process. Person says they're curious about the full passport service. Is it a step-step guide through the process towards state citizenship, breaking away from federal taxation, etc.? Typically, when we do the paperwork for clients, we will what that process looks like is people will give us a hold harmless agreement. They'll make payment, and then they'll fill out a DS-11 just the way they do. We won't be using their DS-11. They'll get us those things. We'll prepare documents. We'll email you your documents to review. And then we'll go over them line by line. We'll explain what we're doing, why we're doing, and all that. Then we print out your documents that you're going to submit to the State Department or the post office. And then we mail those out to you, priority mail. And then once you have them, then you'll make your appointment and you'll do your passport process on your own. You don't need to give us your passport at all or your photo or any of that. You're going to do and take your documents to the acceptance agent. We're not doing that for you. After you get your passport booking card, then we'll do the Freedom of Information Act request, the FOIA, and then we'll do those documents up for you. You'll also implement those by getting them notarized and such as that. So hang 1 second here. Don't go away. I just have to get something to drink. I didn't grab it before we started, so hold a minute. Sorry about that. So mouth gets a bit parched. So that's what we do. So now the passport workshop is less expensive. but you have to take the state citizenship class. The full passport process includes the state citizenship class, and we recommend that people take that. That's vital for understanding what you're doing. Matter of fact, you have to take that class before we can do any of the alignment stuff for the clients. But with the passport workshop, you'll take the class and then you can take the workshop, and that's less expensive. And yeah, I mean, if I talk about prices on these videos, then it just dates the videos, and if our prices change, I'll just qualify that. Just as of this broadcast, our prices are the way they are. I don't see them changing over in any time soon, that I can tell, but you never know. But the full passport process is $4,400, and the passport workshop is $1,660. And I'll just tell you the way we came up with those prices were the same as they've always been over the last couple of years. But what we did was we decided that we noticed that there were clients that were not doing, all of the work that is needed when you're doing driver's license and all that. So we just decided to combine everything, and the client is basically paying for everything because that's what they need. And so that's the difference that we made up. So the state citizenship class doesn't require you to be a client. That is $385 for that. But the passport workshop is $1,660. The full passport process is $4,400 each. So, and we do have some minor discounts that we can throw in with respect to families. Children are less expensive because they're not getting access to any of the alignment stuff. And so we still have to do FOIA for the family, so we can throw in some discounts. It's hundreds of dollars of discounts, but that's if you do stuff as a family. So just let you know that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Here was somebody who said, I'd like to share, I like how you share your thoughts on how you move forward regarding updating my citizenship status. That concept. Now, a lot of people think that this is a status change, okay? As if the government recognizes a status change. It is true that those in government, not the people that you deal with, but there are people in government that do understand that there are two types of citizens in the United States. So it's not an unknown concept. I certainly didn't make it up, but it is a reality. So when we do the passport process, many times we'll make reference to changing your status, okay? But I'm also asserting that the State Department doesn't recognize it as a status change. So don't ask the State Department to do a status change. It's nothing that they do about that. This person said, I applied for a passport years back in which I followed some suggestions on one of Anna von Wright's programs. I cannot remember all the specifics of that DS-11 I submitted, but it did not include an explanatory statement. If you cannot fill out a DS-11 without an explanatory statement and think that it's going to do or change anything. Both Copper Moonshine and Anna von Wright's programs don't address the things that we address in these processes. And so that's why a lot of those people in those, who are familiar with those processes do our stuff, because we end up getting certified copies of your passport file as part of the FOIA. But if you don't have an explanatory statement, nobody knows what you're doing, okay? It says here, Anna von Wright, it says, in the past, I have also submitted citizenship evidence, basically sworn affidavit, to the head of administrative records for the State Department, only to have that returned with a letter saying that they do not add records to anyone's file, but also rebutting evidence. Again, it's a waste of time to just send notifications to heads of states or heads of departments and all that stuff. It's a common practice. It's useless. I jokingly say it's masturbatory in nature. It feels good, but it accomplishes nothing. Okay, that's the idea. No babies, So the idea is that, we want evidence, and that's why we do the passport process, because the subject matter of the passport process is citizenship. And we reject that 14th Amendment citizen, and we claim our state citizenship, and we have evidence that we enter into the record that is true and correct under penalty of perjury. We have not had the State Department ever deal with any of our clients and charge them with perjury for anything we've submitted. Okay. But then when you get your certified document signed by the Secretary of the United States, that's what you can use as evidence. So this person says, um, I then sent citizenship evidence to the Secretary of State along with a DS 55-4 application and letter asking for an updated passport due to incorrect data, which included several items such as fingerprint card, passport pictures, affidavits, etc. This was based on info I studied by Patrick Devine. The majority of my items were returned to me, which also included a letter stating that they printed the original passport based on information I submitted, thus the data was correct. And if I wanted to change any data, I should apply using the appropriate application. Yeah, so the idea of that is anybody that has a passport that we're going to do passport again, we're going to let the State Department know that we're correcting previous application errors, and therefore we're doing a first-time passport because we want a different DS11. So that's what it. By the way, they did keep the payment anyway. Again, it's the bad process. Based on what I have laid out, do you think that I should apply for a new passport as a state citizen? Of course. If so, is there something you can do to help? No, I can't correct that stuff. Then they go on to say, is there a possibility that my status has been updated to that of state citizen based on what I submitted? I would say no. Also, based on the language contained in the DHS site, that's Department of Homeland Security. The options are usually limited in my case. And again, you're not going to typically do processes with computers on forms they have. Those forms are typically for federal citizens, resident aliens. Therefore, I don't recommend doing automatic forms and stuff that are on websites. Also, is it correct that in order for one to be recognized as a non-citizen national, that status is based on their limited language, one needs to submit a new application to the agency that can administer the oath on one. Again, this person doesn't know that the State Department defines non-citizenship, a non-citizen national as someone who's born in America Samoa or Swains Island. Okay. In our state citizenship class, we cover this. I show you the evidence from the State Department that they say exactly that. So nobody, if you're a non-citizen national, you also will be in the federal zone as a U.S. person. And if you're not born in America Samoa or Swains Island, you're not a non-citizen national. There's a lot of bad information out there, and unfortunately, people don't realize that. Then it says, where I most transit, the clerk of courts has a passport service, which I think it checks the box. Again, I don't recommend doing these at any other place other than the post office. All in all. So anyway, that's just some of the questions that sometimes we get. This person says, they spoke to me at an Acapulco, and it says both times an invalid number in red. I don't know what that one is. I'll have to reach out to that person. They're trying to connect with me. Oh, here we go. Here's somebody says, I'm wanting to obtain my passport and move out of the country. I guess he means America. In my late 40s, I was coerced into a plea deal, had no accuser, lost my career, my home, and stability for my children. I got probation, signed a plea deal under duress in fear of threatened stricter punishment. I'm wondering if I have any options before I subscribe and pay for the course. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is based on being federal citizens, and all those violations are within the federal jurisdiction, all that. If the Constitution is going to limit the federal government, you're definitely not going to wanting to be a federal citizen. So you might want to do these processes. Now, depending upon whatever this charges, I don't know if the State Department doesn't give passport to felons or anything. I don't know. That means that if the State Department doesn't allow you to leave America, that means that you are still serving a life sentence. If that's the case, there has to be a remedy. And of course, we'd be glad to help with that. This would end up showing up or doing some work, very much like we do our naturalization clients. We have to deal with this issue if for any reason the State Department doesn't issue passport to those that have been convicted of a felony. depending on what it is, you might pursue getting this expunged so that you can deal with it and not have it in there. Who knows? But anyway, sometimes people will reach out, and because we help people and we do legal stuff, many times people think that I'm an attorney or I can handle every case, or even that I want to handle every case. That's not. I'm too busy helping clients with the things that we have. It's one of the things that I was interested in, and that was not doing all types of freedom work. And even some of these side things, we tend to want to help clients, and we really can't help people that are not part of what we're doing here. So it becomes problematic because federal citizens don't have rights, they have privileges and immunities. Person says here, my family was working through the passport workshop and they hit a snag. Oh, so they hit a snag concerning employment income. So they paused the process. They want some answers. We'll follow up with that. Again, I can understand that being a snag because if you're still employed, it may be difficult. Although you can do these processes even though you're employed, but you're going to be on a quick timeline to be done with that because they're going to be withholding, sending into IRS, and those things are inappropriate for you. So anyway, this person says someone's not a referral. All right. And then someone's waiting on a FOIA request. Let's see if there's anything else. No, I think that's it. So anyway, so that's some of the emails. Now what we're going to do as a department or a feature of our weekly call is that whatever questions that we don't deal with directly and call people that have certain questions, I'm going to read them on online like this. And so I'm going to put on that place where people can fill in, and we're going to let them know that if they ask a question in the contact us section, that week or the next following Wednesday, I may handle their question. And if for some reason I don't handle their question, that next Wednesday, it'll might be the next week around if we don't do a call. I'll just say it's the next call depending on what's going on. One of the things I want to mention is we are pursuing setting up a date to do a live class in Montana, either in the Billings or the Livingston area of Montana. I'm not sure which one they're closest to, but we have a number of people that are in Montana, and there may be people in different places. Montana is gorgeous, and so we intend to be there. What we'll do with that class, we'll do a live state citizenship class, and then what we'll do is we will do a passport workshop, or we'll do the full passport process for clients right there, and we'll make sure that they can walk away with their documents after that. So we'll stick around for about a week, and if people want to go to the post office there, I'll be there, and I'll be glad to go to any post office and help with this process if you feel comfortable with that. So that we're looking to do in Montana, and we're working on securing that date right away. So if you would like to attend that live class in Montana, we will set up a registration form on the website for that class as soon as we have a date, and then you can fly in and be a part of that, and we'll have a good time. We'll probably stick around there for about a week, and we'll hang out, and we'll have some social activity too. That'll be a lot of fun. So that's coming up. That's coming up probably the mid or end of September. So we want to get that hammered down as soon as possible. We're following up with that. Someone says can I talk about the classes and sequence versus pay service? Not sure about that last part of that. Basically, we have one class that we offer, and that's the state versus federal citizenship class. Everything else is a workshop, okay? And the way I define that is the state citizenship class has no paperwork associated with it, and it's available to anybody, okay? You don't have to be a client to take the state citizenship class because it's really going to show you the background of why we do what we do, and it's going to let you know who has an income tax liability. The rest of our educational workshops have paperwork associated with them, and that's how and why we call that a workshop, because you're working, okay? And so we have a number of workshops that are available. But you have to have done, or you have to sign up for a full passport process, either the workshop or the full passport process. One is what we call the alignment workshop, and that deals with driver's license. But by principle, that particular workshop it doesn't have to be the state licensing. That's one thing, and we know that people do that. But it could be any kind of licensing, whether it's with the federal government or with the state, okay? Because you may determine that, that licensing is for federal citizens. We have clients that are pilots, and so therefore they have to have FAA licensing. And so just like the passport process, they may have an application or some paperwork, but we'll have an explanatory statement, especially if they're asking for a social security number. We want them to realize that although you may be doing this thing that the federal government may be licensing by tradition, that you are not in the District of Columbia, the United States, and that you're not a U.S. citizen nor a resident alien. All those things will be in your documents as you do that process so that it can be congruent or aligned with your passport process. Then we have a wonderful workshop. It's a W-8 and W-9 workshop, which gives you proper tax documents, if you will, that when someone asks you for a social security number or a tax ID number, you can show them that you're exempt, and you provide them your W-8, a certificate of foreign status. And that workshop goes into all those details about that. And then we have an IRS 1445 that deals with real estate transactions. All of these classes together give you a good picture of how to stay out of the federal zone while you're doing your affairs and your business dealings, okay? So that's all there. Now we have, it's available for clients to obtain a trust. We have a foreign irrevocable trust that we can help you with so that you can put property into that, especially if you're wanting to do these processes. And if you own your house or car, whatever it is, then you can move those into trust and protect them from others, because you'll be giving it up and the trust will own them. That's right now, that is $3,000 for the trust. And we'll set up those documents, and there's a lot of hand holding and going through and talking about how that works out. And then we have a passport workshop that's not included in the alignment workshops. And that workshop deals with eliminating your debt, your credit card or unsecured debt. Could look like student debt. We can't deal with student debt if you're a federal citizen. That's why we have to wait for people to do the passport process so that they can do this debt discharge. And the moment that you begin the debt discharge, you're no longer making payment. So whatever you've been paying out every month for credit card debt and all that, that immediately can be a pay increase for yourself. You can improve your lifestyle, and also you could take those assets and actually invest them in things that will actually make money for you, kind of like the way the bankers do. But anyway, that's all part of the debt discharge workshop. So those are some of the things. And of course, if you need to consult with me, you can pay a consulting fee. It's like $450 right now, and then we'll talk about it. We'll talk for an hour or so or whatever until we're finished talking, and make sure that all your questions are answered with respect to that. But with respect to processes and some other questions, you can just get your questions on here. We'll be glad to answer them. Or you can buy that time. Someone says they're no, Victor's okay. It says, is there an association or support groups we can join? We do have a Destination Freedom Telegram group. It'll be DestinationFreedom.org. You can sign into that. There's a number of people that are in there. You can chit chat with them. Now, people sign into that are not done the process. Okay, that's not for those people. I have a private Telegram group called State Citizens, and so if you want to be a part of that, you can make that request. You can go into Destination Freedom, say, and then if I determine it's your client, then you can be a part of that state citizenship group in which you can interact with other state citizens, people who've done this process. That's the best I have for you. Um, can we use the little passport card for driving instead of getting permission driving? You can if you like, and some people do. I don't recommend it. It's not a driver's license. It's an identifier, and of course you can use that if you like. But if you don't know how to handle cops, and if you don't have a driver's license, then you're probably going to be dealing with paying fees and all that stuff if you want. So I don't recommend it. Like I said, some clients like to use and use that ID card. That passport card can only be used going into Canada and Mexico on land or in a boat. Okay, but you cannot use the passport card to get into Canada and Mexico by air. I know that firsthand. Person says, I'll just continue not to drive. Yeah, whatever you want to call that, that's all good. You know, one of the ways to not drive or travel is to hire a driver. Let them be licensed and all. You just sit in the back and enjoy yourself. It's a little more expensive, but it's one of those ways. One of the things that we have in our documents is that we restore the right to travel. And so in our alignment documents, what we're trusting is, and we haven't tested this out, but we're trusting that if you get cited a ticket, that I would go to court and I would get do a FOIA that's in your state and get your driver's license documents that you submitted and show those to the court that you're not doing commercial activity. You know, you're not for hire, and therefore you're not subject to that citation, not being in that subject matter. So that's why we're doing this. Oh, there you go. That's what you got a wife for. Oh, that's good. I'm so glad that your wife loves you like that. That's a cool thing. So anyway, so that's just some of the things that we're doing and going on there. So if there's no other questions, what if you have a federal conviction, although it was 30 years ago? Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at that. If you have a conviction and you've served your time and you can't travel, because then you have a life sentence and you're restricted to America. So there has to be a remedy. That's what I believe. And so therefore that conviction and that charge, depending on the subject matter, may have been because you were a federal citizen. And if you're not a federal citizen, maybe you can do that. Can you own a firearm? What kind of question is that? Of course you can own a firearm. I don't think that's really your question that you're asking. Listen, you can, if you're going to buy firearms from a federal arms dealer, you should be filling it out as a non-resident alien. But I don't recommend buying from licensed arms dealers. I recommend all your sales be private, and deal with it that way. But let me tell you this, we are looking into that data because it's interesting. And I'm going to probably come up with a firearms class that is something like this: the federal citizen and gun control. And I'm going to show you how federal gun laws are constitutional and that they're in that federal jurisdiction, and that all the U.S. citizens that are out there that have income tax liabilities, their right to keep and bear arms is not being infringed because they're choosing to be in the federal zone, and therefore they're subject to that jurisdiction thereof. And so a lot of people don't get that, but we're going to present a workshop. I don't even know if that's a workshop. It'll probably be just a class. There probably won't be any paperwork with that. And as far as do I own a firearm? Now imagine if I answered that question on YouTube. But my understanding is that every free man and woman has a firearm, is always packing. But I tend to want to carry all the time, so that's what I do. I open carry. Anyway, bro, can drive a Vespa legally with no driver's license. That's great. I highly recommend driving a Vespa if that works for you. I just can't get to Florida on a Vespa. My father told me never to tell anyone about guns. That's a wise man. So, yeah, that's a good idea, and certainly not anything, it's, you don't need to share with anybody what you're packing or carrying. Of course, anybody can see that I'm carrying a 38, so. But anyway, so that's all fun and games. But yeah, so that's good. Let's see. Oh, there's a couple things. Sad to see armslist.com switch to KYC. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that particular one, but by understanding the alignment workshop and all that, you should be able to handle any question where someone's asking you, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" or they're looking for your citizenship identifiers. Okay, and listen, your passport, book, or card doesn't determine that you're not, that you're a federal citizen or not. You have to have proper paperwork. That's why we help and assist with that. But again, navigating KYC is an important part of staying out of the federal zone. I don't recommend using exchanges that have KYC. That's why we go to those privacy ones with respect to that. And it's amazing. These are wild days today, especially with um, governments wanting CBC, central banking digital currencies. That's not in this, as far as I'm concerned, that's not the same as any other crypto. Okay, if they're not decentralized, and if your privacy is not protected, then your crypto might not be as safe for you. But digital currency and Bitcoin is not going away. I'm at this present trajectory, unless Trump decides not to do the CBCD, DCs, which he said that he isn't. But I don't trust that he's not a statist or that he's not a, um, he always puts bankers all around him, so he's in that category. So, but the government having a digital currency is just to save the dollar. So Bitcoin may become the world currency just because by default, because it's decentralized and it's a open ledger, and so therefore people can see it. But that's not. I'm a big advocate of a privacy coin. So, but anyway, thoughts on the assassination attempt? Yeah, don't believe everything you see on TV. Okay, uh, this is a plan. Things happen. I don't know if that was planned by Trump. I don't know if I don't believe the CIA and our government was trying to assassinate or whatever. Not our government, but there's no professional did anything there. Okay, that happened exactly the way he wanted it. If it was a professional sniper, he'd have been dead. But that's not what was intended. Now, if that was a kid, we see how that's all set up, and so everything's happening exactly the way they want, so it's occurring exactly what they want. I just overheard someone saying that the media's never been at these Trump rallies. They're not going to report on them. That's why they're not there. But oh, this one they were. Oh, what a coincidence. Now, look, if it's on TV, mainstream TV, it's planned, and that's the idea. So I'm not sure if it was an assassination attempt, but it was good theater, and it worked out. I'm glad he only had to have his ear shot. Even if it wasn't shot, we don't really know because we can't really tell. We don't know what happened when he drops down and they do the gig and the benefit. I saw some video where his shirt has no blood on it, it's just on the top, and so you don't know. If it's on TV, you don't know. Even if it's a video, you don't know if it's real. And so that's unfortunate. So you just have to go, be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, that's what a false flag's about. People die in false flags. But just because people die doesn't mean that it is what they're saying it is. People died in 9/11. Doesn't mean that there wasn't a plan and that it worked out. So these things all happen out there. So I don't know. The idea is neither do you. And you're not in on it. So you don't really get to know. You just get to sit back and go, that's interesting. I wonder where this is going. It's already proven that the kid was groomed by, yeah. So all that stuff is, even like JFK and Harvey. I mean, you got patsies, and then you have people that shoot the pats. I mean, it's like, listen, dead men tell no tales. That's the way it works. So that makes a perfect guy, and you don't know what arrangements were made. It's just too much. I just don't trust. I don't trust the media. I don't trust the government. That's the end. That's the end of the matter. It doesn't. But you're going to see what plays out, and you're going to see what most people do, and that's the purpose of it. Problem, reaction, solution. That's what's occurring all the time. Yeah, and Epstein's not dead. He's still alive. I mean, look, you're a billionaire, and you have protections to report on people. You're not dead. I promise you're not dead. They wanted him alive. YRB used to shoot the guns out of the people's hands. He was so good, never killed anyone. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so anyway, so all that stuff is out there and it's part of political drama and all that stuff. And so, yeah, and someone mentioned the BRICS and all. Listen, the dollar is in the toilet. Dude, nothing is safe. Like in crypto, they call it stable coins. If a digital currency or a cryptocurrency is tied to the dollar, that means that the cryptocurrency is tied to a piece of shit. That's where it's going to be. Stable coin, nothing stable if it's attached to the dollar, okay? Listen, typically in government, they name things the exact opposite of what they want. Like the USA Patriot Act isn't patriotic at all. You know, the Affordable Care Act was expensive as hell, you know, and stable coins are not stable. They fail. If it's tied to the dollar, it's a piece of shit. So BRICS currency is a real threat to the dollar. No, it isn't BRICS currency is a threat to the dollar. The dollar's a piece of shit and is dying because it's meant to die. The dollar's dying at the hands of the bankers. Just so you know, this is a banking collapse as we speak. And this is what a banking collapse in 2024 looks like. Just exactly the way it's playing out. The BRICS are sick and tired of buying the dollar, and that too is planned and is expected. And that's why we go to war with anybody who doesn't support the dollar. It's just, you know, it's just political mob. So that's what's playing out. Everybody knows that. So anyway, glad you've been on here. We're going to call it a night, and we'll see you next week, I think. I have to see. You'll know we're doing a call when the website reflects a date and a time and all that stuff. But typically we'll do Wednesday night. Hopefully you're here next time, okay? And I'm glad you're on. And you guys are the best. Thanks for engaging. Thanks for your questions. I want to make sure that I didn't lose anybody's questions. All right. Well, it's good. You guys are the best, and we'll see you around. All right. Let me let go of YouTube here. Let's see if that'll go. There we go. There goes YouTube.